Hi there, Nick from Healthy Habits PT. So what I'm doing today is I'm just going to demonstrate a exercise. It's called a single leg hip bridge, and just explain why it's important for training, especially if we've got a hip restriction in the body. Okay, so what I mean by hip restriction, so I'm just going to adjust this as we go along. Okay, so basically, okay, we're standing, we've got our hips. Ideally, we want the hips to tilt slightly forward, okay? But what can happen is, if we get really tight through the front here, what will happen is these hips will turn and they'll rotate forward, okay, like this. Now, if that happens, this hip flexor, which goes through here on both sides, okay, can get really tight, or it can even shorten if it's done for long periods of time, like sitting down all day, every day. Now, if that's the case, that's going to be really hard to swing back, right? So what a single leg hip bridge does is it tries to use the core and it tries to use the glutes to try and push that hip up and just create a bit more freedom in movement afterwards, okay? Now, the thing about the single leg hip bridge is, yes, it's good for doing that, but we also want to make sure that we can do something beforehand to really help that hip come forward. All right, so you might have used one of these before if you've been training with me, and you might have not done this for a while. So just having a harder of a ball or something that you can just place. Here we go, going to adjust again. So we can just place on the floor, put it right in the corner of that where the hip goes, where the femur goes into the hip, and just hold it on there, or even just towards the belly button. Just find a spot which feels fairly sore, fairly tender. Only 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, that's all you need. Up and down, left and right. Okay, and what it's going to do, one, it could help ease that muscle off, or what it can do is it can actually help the fascia surrounding that hip capsule create a bit of freedom. So single leg hip bridge looks like this. Okay, so basically we've got 2 feet here. Now sometimes I get people to use a ball, okay? I'm just going to hold it here underneath the rib, and we're going to put one leg up and hold that ball there on the chest. And then all we do is we draw the belly button towards the spine, squeeze through the glute, and push up as high as we can, holding that ball in place. 1 or 2 seconds and bring it back. Do it on the other side. Okay, can you see from the other side? Ball in place. Up we go. Try and push that hip right up. Squeeze through the glute. Draw the belly button towards the spine. And bring it back down again. Okay, and what that exercise is going to do is really just open up those hips, especially ones we've already rolled or loosened up in that space before doing that exercise. And when we can open that up, like we're getting full flexion and extension through that space, what we're also doing is we're getting the core and the glutes to be activated. So if you've been training with me, you probably heard me say glutes and core, really important. So a great exercise to do, and I'll probably program this in most of the programs, to really help open up the hips once we've loosened it up, and then going into your exercise. So whether it's exercise, or whether it's walking, or whether it's just doing some activity, great exercise to do just to make sure that we create that freedom, because if we can create that freedom for the hips, funnily enough, sore backs can tend to improve if we can do that, okay? And that's just across the board. It takes a lot of pressure off that lower back. Okay, so like I said, with this group, any questions at all, just leave it in the comments and I'll be able to respond either in a comment or a video. And if there's anything specifically that you want to have me do a video on or just show, then absolutely just leave some comments or leave a post and I'll get to it as quick as possible. Okay, but that's a single leg hip bridge, really good exercise, opening up the hips. All right, see ya.